Hello, I am Nigel King, the creator of this course assessment. This presentation is intended to provide some background and context to the design of the Transaction to Trial Balance Assessment. This forms part of the Introduction to Financial Accounting. Students who take this course, usually with limited to no prior knowledge, enter with the preconception that accounting is all about maths, and they hastily add that they're not very good at maths. My perspective is that accounting is more like library science. Consider that a librarian who is able to return a book based on the information provided on the book, thereby knowing where to put what. Accounting, in much the same way, is knowing or determining where to put what. Let's examine, shall we, some of the key elements of the assessment so that you can have a more thorough understanding of its use. The assignment is designed to reinforce the critical thinking necessary to inform the procedures that govern accurate financial recording. There are some necessary aspects of drill and practice, yes, built into it, but the more significant aspects of the assessment will be the evaluation of the critical thinking demonstrated by the student. The core of the design will therefore require the student to identify the reasons for the actions taken. This, as you can agree, will be extremely important as it grants useful insight to the mind of the student, and thus more precise guidance can be provided to prompt self-correction. Improper reasoning leads to inaccurate results. This is one of the cracks in the foundation of the learning of accounting principles that this assessment is intending to prevent. The assessment is relatively simple in design and therefore easy to implement. The assessment tasks that are aligned with the learning outcomes of the module and the attendant success criteria. This is an individual accounting exercise that will be supported by the resources and practical exercises the students will have prior exposure to in the learning activities section. The student will be engaged in a peer-to-peer assessment activity, a self-assessment reflection, and receive feedback from the lecturer. They will be required to complete the assignment task with the pre-formatted Google Sheet file that will be shared by the lecturer. The Google Sheets is designed to accommodate all the aspects of the assessment task and the assignment feedback. The lecturer will then share the solution worksheet upon completion by the student with a fellow student to activate the peer assessment tool. The student will then be expected to review the peer feedback and complete the self-assessment exercise with the tool provided. The lecturer will then provide feedback to the student on the student's work, the feedback he provided his peer, and the self-reflection. Now, what was my rationale? Well, with the assessment task, I chose the task in order to accomplish the following: to achieve alignment to the learning outcomes of the module. Also, to have the students appreciate the level of cognitive ability incumbent in accounting practice. Also, to demonstrate the interconnectivity of accounting data and its reliance on accuracy. And also to develop both the self and peer assessment skills of the student that are intrinsic within the accounting profession. My rationale for Google Sheets as the technology tool is because Google Sheets is an easy to access, user-friendly, interactive, collaborative application which a lecturer can use to track and monitor the progress of the student. Google Sheets is a cloud-based, so is saved automatically. It's free to use with a Google account. The ease and use of formatted sheets will allow the student to focus exclusively on the accounting task. Google Sheets complements this assessment easily by accommodating the requisite entry of alphanumeric data. Since it is designed for collaboration, it will work seamlessly for the peer, self, and lecturer feedback. Google Sheets allows the use of multiple worksheets, hence the entire assessment will be located in one Google Sheet spread over several worksheets. Alternatives. Spreadsheet applications are the most widely used technology tool in accounting practice. It is used in most companies as an accounting software or in collaboration and support of accounting software. The functionality and features mentioned previously made it an ideal choice for the assessment that required a collaborative tool that can handle numbers, calculations, images, and text. What were some of the challenges? Well, I didn't experience any instructional challenges due to the very specific nature of the learning outcomes and the success criteria for this module. You see, because financial accounting at this level is in of itself very detailed and leaves very little room for experimentation. The usefulness of the technology tool provides sufficient latitude to design and the interactive aspects of the assessment. It allowed me to combine the accounting exercise with the various feedback activities, which result in the student and lecturer being able to access a single file to complete the entire assessment. Some of my insights into the design. Well, the assessment is designed around real-life activities. The student will be required to create the financial transactions to be used in the assessment. The content, therefore, will originate with the student, and hence no two solutions will be identical. They will have the freedom to create complex or simple transactions, which will allow the lecturer to gauge a level of accounting ability among the members of the class. The assessment from the very beginning will be providing important feedback to the lecturer. The experience gained with the use of spreadsheet programs will give the student an edge in financial reporting well beyond the classroom. Now let us take a brief tour of the Google Sheet worksheets to be used in this assignment. We begin our tour in the first worksheet within this file. This first worksheet here provides the student with the general instructions for the assignment. This is not the only place the student will get the instruction. The instruction provided in the course material, but of course, having the capacity to insert it in the worksheet, I took the opportunity to insert the instructions, the learning outcomes, success criteria, the work example that we did, all the assignment, assessment instructions, task descriptions, including the instructions for the self and the peer review. So the student has a little convenience that they can flip back and have a read and make sure they're following correctly the assignment. The next worksheet that they have access to will be the solutions worksheet, where they're provided with the format. It's pre-formatted, so all they have to do is to insert information as they go through the assignment. That's all they're required to do. They don't have to format, they don't have to create. The sheet is already pre-formatted. All the student is going to be doing is inserting data in this worksheet here. Now, once this is done, we go back up here. Once this is done, the student will type, once he's finished, with the solution, he will type yes, which means the lecturer will see that and know that this student is ready for the next step, which is a peer review. So the lecturer will match this student against another student who is ready, and they will pair them off, and they will begin sharing each other's sheet to go ahead and activate the peer review. Now we go to the peer review assessment section here. Here it is. And when this student, the student that receives this sheet, is completed providing the peer review, that student will type yes in this box here. The lecturer will see it, and also the student who owns the sheet will see it, and then they will move on to the next step. So your peer has been shared with your peer. Your peer looks at your work, and they begin to assess your work based on these triggers and these prompts that were placed here, and identify the area where the work is in alignment with the success criteria, looking at the errors, looking at steps to avoid errors. And they have this at the bottom here, a table that will provide some rating on the peer's understanding of or the peer's assessment of the understanding of the student on the review, and areas where they will recommend for further practice and revision to improve understanding. The next tool we're using is the self-assessment. So once the peer is finished, the student has a sheet and he begins to reflect. This is a reflective exercise. Again, when he's finished, he will type yes, which will trigger the next activity. So he will go through and read the reflective prompts and answer the same sheet, same rating. He will rate himself on his understanding of the topics, and then if there's some gaps in the understanding based on what he understands, based on what the peer has said, he will provide some steps to take to close the understanding in his gap. So he's doing a similar sheet here. Once this is completed and the yes is at the top there, the lecturer takes over, and the lecturer will provide feedback on the solution they provided, the peer assessment the student provided, and the student's self-reflection. So this is a quick run through of the Google Sheet with all the 5 worksheets that will be used in the completion of this assessment. I want to thank you very much for taking the time to sit through this presentation on this formative assessment. Thank you again.